Welcome to another episode of Band Director Bootcamp, the podcast with productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. I'm your host, Lesley Moffat, and I'm really grateful to be sharing this platform with you. As busy band directors, we know you don't have a lot of time to watch lengthy professional development webinars, so we share 20-minute tidbits with takeaways you can use to support you in this awesome profession in a healthy way. And today I have with me Peter Sciaino. He is a band director with 27 years of experience. And it's really interesting because he's taught in the same high school for 27 years, but he's seen it through a lot of changes. So he's got that unique perspective. He's also a composer and he's an entrepreneur. He has created some things because he needed them for his classroom, and he's turned them into amazing resources. And so when I saw what he was doing, I reached out and I said, Peter, would you please come be a guest? And so he graciously said yes. And before I let him talk to you and the like, I just want to let you know, he's going to provide you today with some ideas and a product that can provide greater flexibility and allow for differentiation in your band or group lesson settings. And the benefits that directors are finding with this is that it helps create a more stress-free option when groups have a big variety of ability levels and you find yourself teaching to the middle just as the default. So he's going to talk to us about a system he created that's impacted his students and his program and his personal well-being, as well as a lot of other teachers who have been using this program. And you can find out how this can help you. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a couple of classes this year with huge variety of skill levels in the same class and a bunch of different instruments. So I am super stoked to learn more about this. So Peter, welcome to Band Director Bootcamp.
Thank you. Appreciate being here, Lesley.
Yeah. Hey, before we dive in, give us a little bit of background just on your little brief journey of how you became a band director. What led you down that path?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like all of us, I got hooked at a young age and was very interested in music and music making and got into the composing and arranging pretty early on, I guess, at least at the level that I was able to. And once I got through school and I went to Syracuse University for my undergrad, and then I went to NYU for my master's degree, and I started teaching at the high school level, like you said, the same job, I guess you could say. It seems like it's a different job than when it started a little bit, but it's the same position I've had the whole time. It's a nice environment. I've got great coworkers, a great co-band director, and we have been working hard to give these kids in this small school the full experience. And as you can imagine, when you're dealing with a small school and a lot of scheduling conflicts and the way schools have evolved over time, things have gotten more complicated. So while I keep saying, I've been in the same position, but it feels like the job has changed a little bit over the years. And so you have to adapt. And so you were talking about the United system, and that's kind of where it started. As they say, necessity is the inspiration behind so many things that we have to do, right? I know there's a real quote there somewhere, but
well, I was just going to say, how'd you become such a badass? Well, out of necessity, right? Yeah. When you don't have what you need, you create it. So tell us what was going on and why you created this, and then I want to dig into what it is and how it can help people.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess there's two storylines here. Like I said, I've been teaching at that position for a long time, and the job has always been really, really a great challenge for me. And so, I've loved the position, but I've also had this interest in composing and arranging that I was able to pursue. And at some point I realized I could meld the two, and I had some success getting stuff published in the more recent years, through various publishing companies, different pieces and so on. And that's been a great thrill. But earlier on, I started, writing, I guess you could say, lesson sheets is what we called them. Me and my coworker were looking for ways to engage students at different levels, because what happened is over time, students became so busy with their AP schedules and all kinds of different activities that go on, that we couldn't really get the students in lesson groups that help to differentiate. And we do have a lesson program. Some schools, side note, some schools don't have lesson programs, but have only meeting the kids during the band period. And that also resonates, because you need to find ways to engage kids at various levels in that situation as well. So at some point I kind of thought, well, how could we, with these now student groups that I have that are so wide in variety, so we had I teach high school, so I had a 12th grade all-state trumpet player in the same group as a percussionist who had just started, and I guess you could say, okay, you go over there and practice and I'll work with him for a while, and then I'll go over here and do this for a while. But when you only have sometimes, a lunch period, 20 minutes or something to do that, it's hard to really get very far. So I thought there's got to be a way to at least engage students on the same topic, even if they are working at different levels. So it started with something as simple as like, okay, we're going to cover the concept of staccato articulation today, and let's see how productive we can be with that one concept. And I wrote out a sheet that would have something which was, of course, at a certain ability level for the more advanced student, and something for the student that's a little bit more in the middle, and then a student who's just beginning. And we would go from there. And I would cover that and have them play separately. And at some point I said, well, we can harmonize this, or we can make this somewhat of a, almost like a duet or a trio, and still have the parts be the thing that differentiate the levels. So, for example, there was, a student at a higher level would be playing something maybe with more technical challenges than the ones at the middle and lower levels. And, over time, I realized that this was kind of like a band arrangement in some ways, but not actually everybody playing a grade 2 piece of music, And so I said, this could be powerful in a lesson situation or a fundamentals situation. So I started making these sheets more elaborate, and every sheet had a warm up that was, allowed students to warm up at a pitch or in a way that was appropriate for their learning level. And then we had an articulation section, and I kind of covered that. And then there would be a technical scale study or something that was related to facility. And then etudes, so we could talk about phrasing and all that kind of stuff. And the etudes, of course, kind of sounded like duets and trios or chorales, depending on the style that you wrote them in. And it was kind of eye-opening, because all of a sudden these students were not spending 10 of the minutes of their lesson engaged and learning, but they were spending closer to the full amount of time. I mean, sure, you could deal with just, okay, let's just have this group, and you could have them work on that. But the other students, they're still covering the same topic. So they're not tuning out, I should say. Even in band rehearsals, I think sometimes it's like, okay, trumpets, here we go. And you work with the trumpets, and you can lose your other students. And we all have strategies and ways that's just something that we all have to work with. But here was a way to maybe not lose them as much, because we could have those students listen to the concept or the idea that you're trying to get them to do in just a moment, or all together. And so anyway, this kind of developed into these various lesson sheets, and I thought that it could be useful for other people. And so I started writing exercises for younger groups, like more at the middle school level, because I was imagining that's where the greatest differentiation might be. As you can imagine, some kids, you don't have to imagine, we all live it, right? Some kids will pick up the horn and they're like, well, bam, they've got that high C, or they've got whatever, skill you're trying to teach them in the moment, and the other ones don't. And you have a choice to make right there. Right. You got to go with somebody, and you gotta, unfortunately disengage some students for a second. So I thought, if we all started at the same place, and as the students grow, they can move on, but you can still engage all the students at the same time, that could be pretty powerful. And so that's what the United System ended up being. And I can talk a little bit more specifically about what that is, if you'd like, or
yeah, actually, I'm going to ask you to do that, because I think we need to let people know about it. Before we do that, can you tell me a little bit about did this change the progress your students made, or did you see changes in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not only did it change the progress, but we found that it changed, I guess you could say, the almost like the inspiration behind it, or what the word I'm looking for is, their achievement level, because they wanted to move on to the next thing. They heard other students doing something that was, in a little bit more advanced, and like any of us, I wouldn't say it was a competitive thing. It never felt competitive.
Oh, but a motivator. What a great motivator.
Yeah, a really great motivator. And especially when I started putting a color system to it, where we had, the gold, silver, and bronze. It almost felt like some sort of Olympic approach, where it's like, well, I'm on the bronze level, and other students, I guess it's all how you set up your band room and what the vibe is like there. But I know my students, I never felt like the bronze students felt like they were, oh, I'm only a bronze. They, if anything, the other students were trying to, since we're all working on the same thing, they were trying to coach them up and get them, show them how to get to that next level and show them what they were doing wrong. So it showed a lot of independence. All of a sudden, the kid who even wasn't the best player, but maybe was on that second level, felt a little bit puffed up enough to help, another student and kind of, get them moving a little bit more. So it was great. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm a first trumpet player. It was like, okay, I might be in that, in that middle range, but I'm still progressing. It's like, almost like I'm always impressed with my son does Taekwondo. He's 10 years old and actually just started the trumpet last year. So that's been fun to watch. But I was always impressed at how they move up those belts. And of course, there's all the karate systems that people use for their band programs that kind of do the same thing. So I guess in a way it's like that, but it's not quite as, it's a little bit more broad in terms of, how you move up to those different levels. But anyway, to answer your question, engaged more students. There was definitely more, growth. And I think that the motivation thing was something like a byproduct that I didn't necessarily even think about at the time. Not to mention the independence in the parts. Sometimes those students who are, when we're working with just the clarinets, there's people who in the section who are just kind of following the leader. And that's a reality. Well, now you could kind of make them not follow the leader. Now you're the only one on that silver part. We got to hear that, and all of a sudden the independence became a little bit more of a thing as well.
Cool. My dog's barking in the background, so that's why I keep muting. For all you people, yeah, sorry. This is great. I've got a couple more questions in our last couple minutes here, but before we get to that, I just want to invite all you listeners to take a minute and think about how some of these practices we keep talking about in the different episodes, you might want to implement some of those into your own life. And I've got some thoughts for you. Welcome, Band Director Bootcamp listeners. If you're feeling a bit burnt out and are ready for support and accountability partners in your wellness and productivity, we have an amazing opportunity for you. Join our 90-day virtual boot camp, a community initiative designed for busy band directors like you who love their job but seek a more sustainable approach. We'll meet weekly, discuss your wellness goals, and develop strategies to help you achieve them. We'll tackle productivity hacks and fine-tune systems for the upcoming school year. With 35 years of experience, I've got some tricks and tips up my sleeve that I can't wait to share. So, as we move into a new season of our lives, if you want to feel empowered and supported by like-minded individuals, this is your chance. Reach out to me at banddirectorbootcamp.com or click on the link in our show notes to schedule a 15-minute call. Let's ensure this is the right fit for you, get you signed up, and embark on this wellness journey together. Because together, we rise. We are back again with Peter Sciaino, and we are going to he's talking about the United system he's created. And I'd like to, in our last 3 minutes here, tell us a little bit more about it. Tell us for sure how we can find out more, like find you online and stuff. And maybe share one more story about a change you've seen either for you personally or another director or anything like that.
Sure. Well, so the United system, first of all, it's for winds and percussion. That's one thing that I want to make sure that you can use it in a full band environment or in mixed lesson groups, even if it's so mixed that you're dealing with, woodwinds, brass, and percussion all in the same group. So it's pretty flexible in that way. It's also, it comes, as I said, from a place where I needed to fill a need in my classroom, but it also, it was an additional benefit because what I did is I structured my lesson planning around it. So, in terms of trying to be stress-free and not have to always be worry that you're not covering certain concepts. What this did is because it has the different lesson plans, a student might be, let's say you're on lesson 1.1 and they're all labeled 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then we go to the next unit, 2.1. Each unit is very specific in terms of what's included. Unit 1 is in the key of B flat or the relative minor. It includes staccato as the emphasis for the whole thing. So even as you go through the different exercises, you're actually covering and reinforcing the same concepts. Anyway, as you move through the book, you're going to go through 1, 2, 3, and then the student gets the silver level. So they're circling back to that B flat and the key and the relative minor and the staccato, but now with harder concepts, or a little bit more challenging. So what's cool about it is that, I know I'm always paranoid. That's like, oh, wait, I know we worked on 3/4 time a few months ago, but now we haven't done it and they're going to forget. Well, it's almost built in, because when you come back around to the second unit on that silver level, you're back to 3/4 time. And you say, remember 3/4 time? We did this last time, but now it's, and so I kind of called it spiral planning. That was how I was looking at it. And so it was kind of an antidote for not just a lesson program, but I found band directors have told me as well that they can use it at the beginning of band class as their warm up, because it's got long tones, it's got the technical study, it's got an etude, which kind of mimics a chorale if you want to use it that way. It's got a staccato / rhythm exercise, and you can bam, 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 go through your 4 or 5 things that day. And I always recommend like spending a full week on the unit, on the lesson, I should say, so that students really can get a hang of it over the course of 5 days. And of course, that could be different depending on how often your group meets. Maybe you need to do it for 2 weeks, or maybe you need to do it for a month. I don't know. It depends on the program. But then you feel good about the fact that, like, okay, I did that. We've worked on that concept today or this week, and I know I'm going to come back to it in a few weeks when we come back around. So I think that's an added benefit that people have found.
I cannot wait to get my hands on this. I'm telling you, as you talk about it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've needed. I found some of this in the tiered tunes that some of the teachers, like Roger Fletcher does, where again, they can be different levels. And this is like really cool though, what you're offering, because you get some fundamental things taught, but in a musical setting and the various levels. This is a gold mine. How do we find this online so we can learn more?
Yeah, it's available of all major retailers. It's published through Wingert Jones, and the folks at Excelsior Wingert Jones has been great in terms of promoting it. So I feel like it's getting, the word's getting out there. Of course, you can go to your favorite retailer, as I said, or you can go directly to the Wingert Jones website, and you can actually take a peek inside the book as well. There's some PDFs up there that you can see. And I've got a whole video series outlining each exercise and how I use it in my lessons. So there's a whole introductory series.
I've seen some of those. What a bonus help, especially younger teachers or newer teachers, to see that alongside the content. It's just, and you do them in just short amounts of time. Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah. Kind of like, I think what's so great about your podcast is, it has to be digestible for people who are busy. And when you have a couple of minutes before class, that might be the perfect thing to check out.
Yeah. Oh, well, I am so grateful to you for creating this, and then for when I stalked you on Facebook and said, hey, would you come talk to us? You were willing to. So thank you. This has been Peter Sciaino, I say it right, who has been with us. I hope you check out his system that he's created. And if you have questions, he's a pretty nice guy. You can probably reach out to him too. How's that for just telling people that? But this is great. I'm really looking forward to this. And I'm sure there's a lot of directors out there who are going, oh, so glad I listened to this episode. Great. So, thank you again for being here. And to all you listeners who every day are making difference in kids' lives through the magic of music education, the work you do matters, and so do you. Join us next time on Band Director Boot Camp for another episode of productivity and wellness tips to make your life a little easier.